and then you talk about me some more. Like that's some bullshit.
Okay.
Well, we're here talking about it now. So,
Yeah, no.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, since you guys got such strong opinions on Jesus mythicism,
Listen, if you want to do the whole Jesus mysticism thing, then like go ahead and do it, man.
well,
Like,
Mike doesn't have strong opinions on
like
Jesus.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
No, Mike has strong opinions on Jesus mythicism. Like, that is to say, Mike thinks Jesus mythicism and really any religious dispute is not something worth fracturing a movement over.
He doesn't want to lose
feelings that Jesus
subscribers.
was real.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. Yeah, he wants to not lose subscribers. But the thing is that you guys said you didn't want to talk. He does have strong opinions. He said that it's wrong and really dumb, I think was the words.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he did say that. Super dumb.
So,
yes, you're
so is it not really dumb to have a bunch of guys worshiping the Jewish Messiah as God? I think that's pretty dumb. But Doomer Matt,
it's Doomer
Nat. That's what I meant. I'll take a step back. I heard that you wanted to talk about this. I heard you in the CQ space. You seem chill. Sorry, I didn't tag you on the post where you said you were.
No, you're good, dude. I never insulted you on the space. I never called you dumb or stupid or anything like that.
I know.
And I have respect for Amalek and this and that. Like, I like him. He seems like a good guy. I joined because I'm not a history buff on like this stuff. I was raised Catholic and I identify as Catholic. I'm not the best guy you're going to be debating when it comes to theology. But like, if you want to have like conversation about like, the political ramifications of people being Christian, I can talk about that. But you probably will like knowledge gap me a little bit about like the Jesus mysticism.
Yeah, okay,
stuff.
Adam, I'll tell you this also on a similar vein. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to read a whole book for you, but is there a person or an article? Maybe if you give me like 3 articles or something.
Do you need like a 1 minute TikTok? Is that as much research as you're willing to do?
Don't be mean. Don't be mean. I'll read 3 articles of your choice. I can get the shape of the accusation.
Hey, Adam, it's like what's up?
I see it.
Hey, Marcel, I've got a book on my timeline or on my highlight section. I'll tag you in it real quick. It's just like a 4.5 hour book. It's Nailed. Did you say you read Nailed or not? That goes over the very basic arguments, and it's only.
That I've read what?
It's a book called Nailed. I have the audiobook on my highlights. It's only 4 hours of an audiobook, and it goes over like the broad strokes, basic arguments that we're kind of talking about. So
I see.
Like start there is what I.
Oh, is that the audio? Is that the audio book you sent me?
Yeah.
I gotta look.
I see a clip from CQ Radio.
Yeah, Doomer Now. That's what I said to you too. I said you should.
That's the same book you told me to read.
Yeah. And that's just
this is Josephus stuff. Okay.
Yeah, this is just chapter 3. So I'll just send you the whole
same page on that.
Yeah. So this is just going over the broad arguments. Like I said, it's only 4 hours long here. I'm just gonna. Oh wait, I can just throw it up here on the jumbo real quick so you guys can see it.
Yes, if it's a 4 hour audiobook, I can listen to that.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good starting point.
On the walk to the gym and back. Or something.
Yeah. That's what we usually recommend people that are like, what are you guys even fucking talking about? We say, hey, just check out. We call it the Nailed Challenge or whatever, and just read Nailed or listen to Nailed, and it just goes over the broad strokes. There's a lot more to what we say, and we're not like David Fitzgerald or anything like that. Like, we're not like saying like everything that he's saying here is correct, but what we're saying is like this lays out the very basic broad strokes.
Did you link this? Did you comment this, or did you put it in the jumbotron?
I just put it in the jumbotron now, and I'm just gonna tag you in it real quick below here.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and you can listen on 1.5 or 1.75 and listen in a few hours.
I can listen to a 4 hour audiobook. Yes.
It's just scratching the surface on like the very basics of Jesus mythicism, but it's also very very persuasive. But Doomer Nat, I heard you make a point last night. You said you guys were saying Richard Carrier. We were relying on Richard Carrier, and he's a libtard or he's a lol cow. That's what you were saying. Number 1, genetic fallacy. Number 2, Carrier did not invent Jesus mythicism. He's just got the most recent and most thorough peer-reviewed book on the topic.
No, I just said you guys cite him a lot, and then I think it was Amalek or someone else told me that like Carrier, like if y'all continued to cite Carrier said he was going to like delete all of his shit because he didn't want to contribute to like not like the rise of Nazism or some shit like that.
That was, I haven't seen him say that, and I think that was him talking about maybe his Hitler work is what he was talking about with that. But that's irrelevant. That's a side point. The thing is though is that you and Mike said you were trying to hate on Carrier saying he's a libtard. Well, Bart, and then you cite Bart Ehrman and Tim O'Neill, like they're just as liberal as he is.
No, I think we said that in the space that they're also atheists who are liberal. I think we said that.
Okay, yeah. So Mike wants to say this is all the Christians ever do. They say even Bart Ehrman agrees. Even Bart Ehrman says there's a Christian. It's the only the only guy any of these people know or ever cite. And none of you have read his book. I have. I've read his books several times. I've read books in PhD dissertations refuting his book. And he has not engaged in good faith.
By Erlen's book, do you mean How Jesus Became God or something else?
No, his
Did Jesus exist?
Wait,
historical
didn't
views.
Ehrman like has publicly debated Jesus Mythicists before, right?
Price.
Like,
Yeah, he debated Price.
He debated Price, and Price is a boomer that's not good at debating at all.
Okay.
And he's been dodging Richard Carrier for the last 10 years and has not given an honest, good faith response to the best arguments of mythicism. And Carrier and lots of people have pointed that out very, very thoroughly. And I have. He makes some of the worst arguments like I've ever seen. They're like laughable how ridiculous they are. Like his main one is he says that Jews would have never invented a crucified Messiah, and that's just completely stupid. There was already pagan motifs of a dying and rising God, and you can clearly see from the scriptures they were searching for secret hidden messages from
no,
God.
in Isaiah 53 it talks about
Right.
a pierced,
Totally.
Yeah, and Songs of Solomon, the Apocrypha, Adam and I, like we've gone through. We have tons of smoking guns on this stuff where we think they pulled it from.
Mm-hmm.
That predate the Jesus historical character, basically.
Yeah, Doomer Isaiah 53. So there's the servants of Isaiah and the servant songs from Isaiah 42, 49, and then there's a servant of 52 and 53. Jews were already reading that and thinking the servant was the Messiah.
I'm familiar.
Before Christianity. So Bart Ehrman says, oh no, Jesus was a real figure. He was a Jew that was crucified by the Romans. And then his followers started coping and trying to look for scriptures to prove that the Messiah was meant to die. But that's not what happened. They were already believing the servant was about the Messiah before.
No, a lot of Jews thought, that the Messiah would have been persecuted.
Okay, so hold on, just to make sure I understand. So the book that I'm going to be listening to for sure is Nailed by David Fitzgerald, and then if I do feel like going further, I should look at Richard Carrier's Why We May Have Doubt, or Why We Might Have Reason for Doubt.
No, here, I got you. I have both the next two books that you want to do. So if you want to do part 2 of Nailed by David Fitzgerald is also on my highlights. I'm going to tag you on that right now. That's called Mything in Action, and that gets really into how it was created, I would say. It focuses on that. Or you can do Richard Carrier's Jesus from Outer Space, which is the public-facing book of the scholarly book, The Historicity of Jesus. And Jesus from Outer Space kind of details, like I would say, like where it came from more, right? So if you want to learn more about like the Essenes and where it kind of developed from and how they would have viewed it at that time, you do Jesus from Outer Space. Or if you want to see like the mechanisms behind how it was created, I guess you could say, and spread, that's like Mything in Action, and I'll post both of those here as well.
And so Jesus from Outer Space is just a public-facing version of
Historicity of Jesus, correct? Yep, of Carrier's book. So and I have both of those audiobooks here, so let me just get those for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus from Outer Space is like 200 pages and just very simple stuff.
Okay,
and then
it's all 4 of those. I'm only going to promise that I'm going to listen to Nailed. I'm not going to promise for any of the others, but
I'll start with Nailed. Nailed is basically a summary of a lot of the best stuff from Carrier's on the historicity of Jesus. Okay, Doomer, now another thing you said last night. You guys were comparing like how you guys questioned.
I don't want this to be like the Doomer Inquisition. I mean,
hold on. You said
I'm responding to the things they were saying about me yesterday. It's not an inquisition.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys were making the comparison, and other people were commenting about like how you can't just cite the scholarship and the consensus because like how does that work for you arguing about Holocaust revisionism? Just to we could cite the scholars and say, but the thing is though is that all of
this
these
was
people,
Mike. I don't do the Holocaust revisionist stuff. That's not
okay. My apologies. My apologies. But you guys were talking about how that that revisionism is more controversial than Jesus mythicism. The Jesus historicists always try to dismiss mythicism by comparing it to Holocaust denial. That's what they do. They use the same trick. So it's really ridiculous for Enoch to be making that comparison when they literally try to say Jesus mythicism is like Holocaust denial or flat Earth or something. And so this status quo and this consensus has been established by Christian theologians, and for the last hundreds of years, they've been shutting down any debate and anybody questioning if Jesus existed just by citing the consensus and calling you fringe. This is what they do. This is their MO.
Well, Mike said he was familiar with like atheist critical literature on it. I mean, I don't want to speak for Mike, but I mean, he said he's read stuff about it from non-Christians. I mean,
Well, that's
I
why I
don't know
wanted
who
to
that.
talk to him.
Yeah,
If he's read
I
Bart
think it's
Ehrman, I want
yeah,
to.
I think it's Bart Ehrman likely and Doomer. Like we've read Bart Ehrman, and it's like it's kind of like citing like the most popular pro Holocaust revision like anti-revisionist literature.
Yeah,
Half
it's
of
like citing Deborah.
Did Jesus
It's citing
Exist?
Deborah Lipstash
Yeah,
to
yeah.
debunk Mike.
Uh,
Hmm.
Bart Ehrman, like half of his book, I'm not like I read it through it twice and I was shocked because I was actually I started this by the way, just so you guys I don't think I've talked to Marcel before, but I'm a TRS guy. Like I came into this through TRS and I started as an Adam hater, watching him trying to debunk him, realizing that he's right. And part of that was reading Did Jesus Exist by Bart Ehrman and realizing that half of the book is literally just appeal to consensus nonsense. It's really bad. So all these times people are always saying, even secular scholars say, even secular scholars say. And then I read both sides and I was shocked. To me, as soon as I saw it, it reminded me of the Holocaust. I was like, okay, well, this is crazy.
I don't know. Maybe I haven't read the book. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the arguments are not as good as you guys would think. It's actually they're not very good.
Can you said a steel man is Caesar's Messiah? Like, I'd like to see you try to steel man why you think we say Jesus is a myth.
Okay, I wrote Steelman. I just want to say, by that I mean it's the best argument I'd heard. So I'm sharing it in the sense that I don't agree with the argument. I haven't.
Oh, got
heard
you.
it.
Yeah, there's
Just
some
saying.
issues with that. Well, we've gone over it before. There's a paper I could, if you DM me, I could send it to you. It's probably easier. There's a scholarly paper that goes through all of it and just goes through each chapter and explains the issues with it. And basically, like there's three chapters. Like the short version I can give, there's like three chapters of Atwell's book that are like not junk, and the rest of it is like really bad. It's like very bad mythicism, very lazy mythicism. And
He's
also like
also, a lot of his book is appealing to hypothetical sources. He just claims there's all these pre-oral law sources that there's no proof of, and there everything could be explained perfectly without all of those. Like Q is one of them. You guys may have heard of.
Well, Q, I mean, it doesn't exist, but there is. I mean, that's not just like necessarily something that
well,
was invented through motivated reasoning. Like, there are actual reasons to think that Matthew and Luke are sharing another source which is not Mark.
the way Atwell uses Q is just it's not it's he's like stretching Q is the best way I could describe it. He's
Oh,
like basically saying that Q would basically be where they got a lot of these puns that he has that he works on and that he shows like these are the puns that show that it was created by the Romans or whatever. And those puns like they don't work in the original language and that's the primary issue.
hmm.
So when you're talking like when he's like stretching Q, he's stretching Q and trying to say like that those puns would have been found in Q. So that's how he's like using it. He's kind of like
Uh,
using it as like an argument from the gaps kind of thing, right? He's not using it in the way scholars use Q traditionally.
okay, yeah, I haven't read Atwell, so I'm not super familiar with what he says.
I wasn't even talking about Atwell. I was talking about Ehrman says that Jesus existed because of all he speculates all these hypothetical sources that are completely unnecessary and can be explained without. And yeah, some people do say there's Q, but there's a lot of top scholars and some of the most recent scholarship that say, like Mark Goodacre, who is another top PhD and professor,
Hmm.
has a whole book and has been writing a lot about how there is no Q.
Yeah, his take is
And even if
focusing
there
on
was,
Matthew, right?
even if there was a Q, that doesn't prove a historical Jesus either, because Q could still
Yeah,
just
that's
be
a
about a
separate thing.
mythical Jesus,
Hmm.
right? And so Q it means source for people that may not know, and the belief is that Mark was the first gospel written decades after Jesus supposedly died, and then Matthew came along and expanded and rewrote some of it, and then Luke came, and that Luke and Matthew knew Mark, but they also knew of another source because they have things in common, but they also have things different. But all you got to do to explain that is say Luke was copying Mark and Matthew, but also changed some things. It's a much easier explanation. Doesn't require some hypothetical source. But this is getting way in the weeds. You could go back to trying to steelman like some of the main.
Actually, I kind of
our
wanted to
main
ask you
talking
what
points.
you said you read you read out Zion, you had Guion on. Bleh. You've had Guion on a few times. What did you guys talk about? Like, what was the?
We talked about Jesus being a hoax and Christianity being a Jewish psyop. Basically, he talks about how. What I remember most from his book was saying how Christianity has made us like vulnerable to be exploited, and that it was a Trojan horse for the Jewish view of God and the Torah to be spread around the world, which I completely agree with.
Right. Was he also a mythicist? He didn't seem like it when I talked to him.
No, I just had him on. In fact, we were debating on my show when I had him on maybe a month ago about if Jesus existed, and I'm no offense to him, but I smoked him.
Okay.
He hasn't done.
He just
I've been
doesn't
writing
know.
a book. Hold on, I've been writing a book called The Jesus Deception for like the last 4 years, and I've just been reading nothing but Jesus mythicist books over and over again for the book. So a lot of people have opinions on it, and they haven't really looked into the arguments.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When he was on Adam's show, like that was what I felt. Like it was like an offhand comment that he made about Jesus being real or whatever. And then when Adam kind of pushed back on him, he didn't seem to know the material, which is fine. Like this is a very autistic, like very specific thing, but like that's how all this stuff is. You know what I mean? Like that's how all these like topics are. So you kind of have to have you have to kind of deep dive into it to really understand all the moving parts or whatever, especially since this is so far back, you know what I mean? And this is like a complicated topic. But
Doom or not? Doom or not?
I'll be right back a sec. I gotta let my dog out.
Doom
You
or
call
not?
me a gooner?
No. I doom.
Gooner now.
Gooner is what I said.
Just call me Seth. Call me Seth.
Yeah. Okay.
Stop
So
goon jacketing.
So Isaiah 53, like you
Mhm.
have clearly the Jesus passion narrative and crucifixion is based on that. So I want you to know that in the book of Enoch, which is pre-Christian, they were connecting the Son of Man of Daniel 7 to the servant of Isaiah already before Christianity. So this is how Christianity came about. It was like mystical, a sect of mystical Jews that were scouring their scriptures and reading them like mystically and esoterically and ignoring the original context. And then they started to believe that God's messenger and his Messiah was like secretly hidden in the scriptures.
I don't know. I
And
mean, I read Isaiah 53, and I mean that doesn't seem too secret. I mean, it seems like it's kind of openly saying that like the
I
Messiah is
didn't
going to
say
be.
No, well, in the original context, it's talking about like the Babylonian exile and the people of Israel is the servant. But later on, the servant was interpreted to be the Messiah. So if Jews were already reading Isaiah 53 and connecting it to the Son of Man of Daniel and connecting that to the branch and the servant in Zechariah 3 and 8, then just from connecting those verses, which Jews were already connecting, making these messianic connecting similar overlapping passages that they viewed as messianic, you can get the whole Jesus story out of that. And that's the actual origin of what began as like a heavenly savior, son of man, Melchizedek like figure. And then later on in the Gospels, it was historicized and placed on in an earthly context.
Oh, I
So,
don't disagree that you can find Jesus in the Old Testament, or what you mean by like the mythos of Jesus in the Old Testament. That's
okay.
definitely true.
So do you think
Well,
Jesus
I'm
fulfilled?
Catholic. Like I think.
I get that. I was raised Christian too, and you're still a young guy. It's like to think that it's more likely that some guy, some magical like Jewish Messiah, fulfilled hundreds of prophecies. Like it's obvious some ancient Jews just knew the prophecies and wrote a fictional story fulfilling all of these scriptures. That's its true origins. Nobody else wrote about Jesus outside the Bible. Like, you think he's God on earth and did all these things, and no contemporary historian wrote anything about him? Not until like 90 years later with Tacitus, when Christianity and the Gospels were already in circulation. Like, Doomer, is it more likely that some Jew wrote a script and made up a myth and a story, or that the Jews are really chosen and all the miracles happened and Jesus walked on water and was born a virgin and did all these amazing things, or that just some Jew made it up based on prophecy?
I mean, obviously, I'm gonna say that like the former is more probable than the latter. Yeah, I think he's
So
got.
you think the magical version that requires like Jewish
I mean, you're
magic is
saying
more
magic. You're saying magical, but listen, I don't want to go into like
supernatural?
metaphysics. And
You think the supernatural explanation is more likely than just some Jews like made up a story?
Wait, Adam, I mean, do you believe in anything supernatural? Like, are you a pagan? Like, do you subscribe to like a polytheistic belief system, or like what are you, like an
No,
atheist or
I'm agnostic and non-religious.
okay. So what are your thoughts on like the myths and tradition and like the spirituality of like the sort of pre-Christian European era?
I think it was our own. I don't think it was real, but I think it was our own. And the fact that like the whole point of Judaism and their God was to conquer our ethnic gods
Do you
with
believe
their
in like the
Messiah.
I got you. Do you believe in the idea of like intelligent design?
No.
Okay. So you do you have any thoughts on creation? Because I mean, agnostic is simply like kind of
I
like an
believe the
indifferencer.
universe is eternal, and I believe in evolution.
You believe in evolution.
Yeah. What do you believe in, Genesis?
I don't know. I'm
You,
definitely in a position of questioning. Like I was raised Catholic, but I've I've been questioning my beliefs for a while. But I certainly believe in intelligent design. I think that that's you can't really move around that. But do I subscribe to the theory of evolution? No. I mean, Charles Darwin was a fraud. Like,
God,
I mean, but
what are you
that's
talking about? It's
Darwin
like
was a
the
fraud.
greatest the
I mean,
greatest
the whole idea about
scientific
the two islands.
discovery.
Well, no,
Dude,
I mean it's
evolution is a fact. But let me back up
evolution.
to
Not really. Give me an example. Like substantiate the
you.
theory of evolution. Like you could do
You can
so
observe evolution in genetics and archaeology. You can make predictions with it.
in
It's
archaeology. How does
yeah.
archaeology evolve? What does that even
You
mean?
can see in the different layers of the strata of the Earth exactly the type of organisms that aligns with evolution. Like, this is well known, dude. You're watching Christian apologist pseudoscience, intelligent design stuff. You have to. But anyway, let me get back to the Jesus thing, okay? So, do you guys know the arguments about Paul? Why Paul's such a smoking gun that Jesus didn't exist?
why is that the case? Just simply Paul.
It's kind of annoying to have you guys shitting on me and saying mythicism's stupid, and you don't even know like the very basics of what we're talking about. But
Well, just
We
give
need
the
we need Dark
arguments.
okay,
Hagel in
okay.
here. Somebody needs to invite Dark Hagel because she's extremely well read on this, and I feel like she could engage in this conversation. And I don't
Okay,
know,
you
Marcel, if
guys
you
can
want to invite
engage.
her. Well, I'm not.
You're smart guys.
I'm not
You
pretending
can engage.
to be as well versed as you are in this.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna
So
invite her. I'm gonna send her an invite. Hold on.
this calling in the backups. Got it. So the
I
thing
don't
with
know this
Paul,
guy. I don't know.
me neither. Paul is a lot of the books of the New Testament, the oldest ones are from Paul. And he never knew Jesus. He never knew Jesus on earth. He only claims to see him in visions after the supposed crucifixion, which Paul never places on earth, by the way. He never says the Romans did it. Never. So Paul says, like, do you guys know how does Paul say he learned about Jesus?
Oh, how he learned about Jesus, or like how he met Jesus? Which one?
How he learned the gospel of Jesus.
Or did he like see
And his
the?
teachings, what he was teaching to his churches. He said, I'll just tell you.
It
He
was like in a
said,
dream, or he like
exactly.
met. It was like, yeah.
Revelation in scriptures. He says it's according to the scriptures. So in Paul's authentic letters, it never places Jesus on earth doing miracles and earthly things and in an earthly context. He's the logos and he's the creator of the universe and he's the image of God. And it's all of this like platonic type of angelic things. And same thing in Hebrews. Hebrews literally says that Jesus is ascending through the heavens and he's in the heavenly temple that is just a copy like the temple that's on earth. And so Paul makes it very clear that the only source of knowledge about Jesus to the first Christians was from the scriptures. They were learning about him and reading him out of different scriptures, which they viewed as prophetic and messianic. So when he says all he knows is that Jesus was crucified and rose after 3 days, he says, according to the scriptures. Well, it's clear he's just getting that because he's reading like Bible code style, the Son of Man of Daniel, who's cut off, the anointed one that's cut off, the Son of Man of Daniel 7 and 9. He's connecting that to the servant of Isaiah 53. So that's where he learned about this. And that's why he says that he learned it from the scriptures. And then he says that the other apostles added nothing to his message. And Paul was arguing that he learned about Jesus from the scriptures and not, he says, not from any man. He was not taught it by any man, because that's the only way that you would have authority as an apostle, is seeing him, reading him out of scriptures, like with the right interpretations. So that kind of implies that.
I don't see how that's a smoking gun that Jesus didn't exist. Like, yeah, Paul never met Jesus, and he was teaching about a Messiah from like the Old Testament. Like, I don't see how that's like some smoking
I mean,
gun.
what we're saying is he wasn't teaching Jesus from like a historical guy perspective. Is what we're saying. So
Well, of course, he
yeah.
didn't meet him. I mean,
Well,
Well, what we're saying is like he didn't talk about any of the stories that are in like the historical Jesus thing, like the riding in on a donkey and all this other stuff. Like he doesn't actually talk about the specifics of any part of Jesus's life that we
Yeah.
later
yes,
find in the
that's
Gospels.
well, not in his letters. No, I mean,
yeah, that's not
Yeah, and it's
also
not
the
in
only thing.
Hebrews.
It's only in Acts, and Acts is way later.
Listen, it's not in Hebrews. It's not in First Peter. It's not in James. It's not in Jude. It's not in First Clement. It's not in any of the early layers of the New Testament. It's a heavenly Jesus that gets historicized later.
second, I think in First or Second Thessalonians, it talks like Paul mentions like being
It's an interpolation.
in accordance with he was with like Jesus's brother, and like mentions like, you know, that, like he mentions like that, and that's kind of
Right.
like a hint of like a
James, the
historical.
brother of, he says James, the brother of the Lord, one time, right? No, two times. Sorry. He
No,
mentions
I think it
brothers
was
two times.
twice.
Yeah, no, two times. He's talking about all brothers. The word adelphos in Greek just means like you're a brother in Christ. The way he always uses that word, he's describing, James does it too. The Christians are known as brothers in Christ.
Yeah,
So
but I'm
that's
pretty
what that
sure the
means.
way that
It's not
I'm
his
pretty
actual
sure
brother.
there's something significant. There's something significant there
Well,
more
bro,
than
you're
just.
pretty sure, but have you read anything about this in the mythicist
I mean,
literature?
I mean, I know what my church teaches, and like that seems to be pretty good. I mean, that seems good enough for me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
So you're just
they
trusting the
they say
authority
he's a
of your church.
relative. I'm going with that. I mean,
No, a
yeah,
lot of the church actually denies that. They say it's
no,
not
they
the
don't.
brother. Yeah, they do, because Mary has to be a virgin, so they say it's not.
Yeah, they say he's not a biological brother. They say he's like a step brother or a relative. But like
Exactly,
the
exactly.
tradition is that he's a relative.
Okay, well, I have a whole like 40-page chapter about James in my book,
I
and
haven't,
it's
but
a and it's a spirit. I'm telling you, it's a spiritual
I mean,
brother.
I'll just wait on your book then, I guess. I mean, I
Okay.
don't.
Or you'll learn about this in Nailed too, or Richard Carrier. Here's one of the things. Okay, the book of James in the New Testament, the canonical book of James. He doesn't identify himself as Jesus's brother. He calls himself a slave to Christ, not the brother of Christ. And there's the book of Jude in the New Testament too, who is also supposed to be the other brother of Jesus. He doesn't call himself or display that he knows he's the brother of Jesus in any way. Don't you think that's a little weird?
I mean, not really. I mean,
And in those chapters, he's giving his credentials. He's like listing his credentials to Paul, by the way, right? So he's like listing all these things that he's done. Peter does the same thing, where he's listing his credentials to Paul. And imagine like you met Jesus, and now you're giving your credentials to Paul. Wouldn't that be like the first leading credential you gave, or at least include it, right? You would definitely be like, oh, and by the way, I met Jesus, or I knew Jesus, kind of thing, right?
I don't know. I
Okay,
mean, I
listen to
guess
this.
maybe. I mean, you have other people referencing that he's Jesus's brother. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was just
Okay.
it was like a known thing. He didn't have to write it. I mean,
Okay, listen to this. This is how we know it's a spiritual brother. There's an early text that has been lost. It was an Ebionite text that the church fathers wrote about called the Gospel According to the Hebrews. And in this, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up. It's called the Ascents of James. And you know how in the New Testament Paul says that he was caught up into the third heaven, and that's where he learned the revelations and the mysteries of about Jesus?
yes.
Caught up into the third heaven. That's describing just your typical Jewish ascension like genre. That's like Merkava mysticism in Ezekiel's chariot, being caught up into the heavens, and that's where he learns about Jesus. He's talking about a mystical experience because they believed of a heavenly Messiah. Just like Satan is in heaven and doing things with angels and stuff, they just had a story about Jesus that was their suffering servant and son of man. And it
So I just want to
began.
remind everybody because it just turned 5 o'clock. So this space is to get people into the book club. So if you click at the PFBC, that'll take you to the book club's Twitter profile. You will see the Discord link there. Our first meeting is in 2 hours. So join, get vetted. Thank you. Keep going.
Sorry, Marcel. I didn't want to. I don't know if I'm disrupting like what you had
No,
planned. I
by
didn't
all
want
means,
to
I'm making
hijack
food for
the
myself
thing.
anyway.
What's that?
I was saying I made food for myself anyway. I mean,
Okay.
if you want to take it back on topic, tell me about what you talked about with Guiano a little more.
But so,
I
what
guess,
does the
but otherwise,
vetting process entail? That seems a little bit much for a
just
book
making
club.
sure that you're not like, a gay Jewish libtard or something. I don't
Well,
know.
I just joined, so what do I have to do? Do I have to like face fag and?
No, just
No.
ping. No, just in the waiting room, ping Moneypenny. You see it there, and then
Okay,
Is the next book going to be nailed? That would be a good one.
I don't know what the next book is going to be actually.
Highly recommended. Hey, let me read you guys a verse from the apocryphal, the secret book of James. Listen to what it says about James. Jesus tells James, "Behold, I shall reveal to you that which neither the heavens nor oh, no, that's not the one. Sorry, this is it from the first apocalypse of James. You are not my brother materially." Jesus tells James, "You are not my brother materially." It they're describing a spiritual brother, and that's why I said the ascents of James sounds like
Where does it say that?
the secret book of James.
That's not real.
It's one of the non-canonical texts, right? So
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
it's
but
not in your.
that's like Gnostic nonsense. Like that's not real.
well, a lot of it, like that's kind of like the
Like
perspective.
nothing about that's
Hold
authoritative.
on, we're not saying it's authoritative. What we're saying is like, okay, so what's
Yeah,
going on at
this
the
is
time
what
of
early
Paul?
Jews believed.
Yeah,
We're saying this is what early. This was
That's
an
what's
early
no, hold on. That's what
tradition.
some of them believe. That's not what the church fathers or anybody
well,
like that
all the
believed.
Yeah,
gospels.
not
Well,
until hold on,
that's why it
hold
was
on.
rejected.
Not until the proto Orthodox Church. They were the historicizing sect, and they were the ones that tampered and harmonized and removed any of
Yeah, but
the
they formed a
obviously
consensus. You can't say that like this is what they believed and then you quote some Gnostic book. When was that even when's that dated? When was that even written? When was this even written? What
I believe
century?
they estimate. I think that it's early second century. I want to
I think it's
say.
like
Let me see.
112. If I'm remembering right,
Okay.
I think it's like 112. But
Yeah.
hold
Because
on,
a lot of these Gnostic, a lot of that stuff is dated to like the fourth, fifth, sixth
oh, for
century. So
sure.
I don't know.
We're not
But
we're not talking about that stuff. But hold on, real quick. I
It
just
was
want to.
It was at Nagamati.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was a Nagamani one. Yeah,
okay.
but hold on. The reason that we're even bringing that up, we're not saying like it's authoritative, right? What we're saying is that was the genre back then of the Gospels. That was this. There was like this Jesus genre back then, essentially like literature genre, and in that genre, we don't find any places that Jesus was the brother of James. And when we do look at that genre, like when we do look at that in all of them, both canonical and non-canonical, we're seeing that they're talking about a spiritual brother. That's the reason we're bringing that up. We're just like trying to show that it's not just in the canon, which is that's accepted later. But because if you were to put yourself in this time, let's just put yourself real quick, like in
Yeah.
like the 100 AD, there would be no difference to you between those two books because there was no canon. That's just what everybody's reading, right? So the saying it's not canonical, so it doesn't matter, is kind of like backdating like authority or whatever. That
Yeah. And is it more likely that James began as a spiritual brother and then they called him later on the historical brother, or the other way around? You're saying he really was, everybody knew he was the actual blood brother of Jesus, but then they're talking about him and describing him as a spiritual brother? It doesn't make any sense with the latter.
Well, why couldn't it just be both? Why couldn't it be that they acknowledged that he was the brother of Christ, but it was in a spiritual essence, because we recognize that there was a divine revelation that occurred around that time. That's going to be a pretty significant historical timestamp, so it doesn't seem that those two things necessarily contradict each other.
If the book of James in the New Testament,
I gotta grab a charger. I'll be right back.
if the book of James in the New Testament is written by the brother of James, why does he not identify himself as the brother of James at all? It shows no indication that the author is the brother of Jesus. And when he introduces himself and gives his credentials, he says he's the bondservant or the slave of Jesus, not his brother. And then Jude, the same thing. It's very bizarre for somebody that's actually the brother.
Sure. But my question is, again, I'm not denying to you the fact that it could be in a sense of a spiritual brother as opposed to some kind of a genetic sibling, right, relation. But what I'm confused is one, what is the significance of this, and two, how is this like? I'm coming in late to the conversation, so I'm just like curious. Is this like being used as like a way to like debunk like Christianity, like, oh, like this guy wasn't this thing, and so therefore Christianity
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah, we're saying that Christianity is a Jewish myth.
Yeah, well,
They conceived of this myth with the motive that their Messiah is meant to conquer the Gentiles.
But that directly counteracts what's stated in like Galatians, and it also directly
No, it doesn't.
counteracts, and it also directly.
No, it doesn't. Read Romans 15.
Hold on, buddy. It also contradicts, right, direct statements of like early church fathers and saints that clearly recognize and speak very vehemently against Jews, right? Like
that has nothing to do with what I said.
You just said that Christianity was created for the idea of a Messiah that would rule over the Gentiles, but that's not
right.
That's not what's being had here, because it's not a Jewish Messiah that's meant to rule over Gentiles. In fact, even when we look, and specifically looking at the statements of early church fathers and saints and their vehement disagreement with Jewish power and the Jewish individuals, and the fact of calling them evil, and that they are nothing but like a synagogue of demons, right, which is a direct quote, that does not correlate to the idea that Christianity is some subversive ideal set that's meant to enslave the Gentile to their Jewish like masters. That makes no sense.
Just because Jews are criticizing other Jews doesn't make them not Jews. And
no, they're not criticizing other. Wait, hold up. They're not criticizing other Jews. No, this isn't a kosher sandwich situation.
Yes. Oh, it absolutely is.
No, it's not. It's not a situation where like fucking optics kikes are criticizing jignats or vice versa. That's not what's happening here. No, it's not.
It's Jews fighting over who the Messiah is.
Jews as a whole, Adam.
I'm not saying it's Jews as a whole.
They say it very clearly.
No, it doesn't.
When people like St. John Chrysostom say there is not a single Jew on the face of the earth that worships the Lord, and who says this better than that is the Son of God, right? And I'm quoting to you saints, and I'm showing you that clearly the view of the saints and the early church fathers were not that Christianity was an ideology that was meant to create Gentiles and make them subservient to their Jewish overlords or masters, or a Messiah that is coming for the Jewish people to rule over them. Now respond to that.
Okay, Romans 15:12. Read it to us. I'll give you a second to look it up.
Yeah, let me grab my Bible.
Romans 15:12. The whole point of the Messiah, and I could show you verse after verse after verse, is about conquering the nations, conquering the Goyim. That's the whole point of the Jewish Messiah, is to conquer the nations. Look at Psalm 2. Look at Psalms 22.
Wait. What do you mean by conquer the nations? What do you think that means? What do you think that means by
make them
conquer the nations?
Are you going to be like Jordan Peterson? It means exactly what theologically get the nations to bow down to the God of Israel and abandon their pagan idol worship. That's what I mean.
wait.
Wait a minute. Wait,
Shut
yeah.
up, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you can act all childish. all
Yeah,
you want,
Adam, why are you
sorry,
getting
right?
upset?
You're,
I mean,
you're
But
the
it's
one with the childish
okay.
laugh,
It's
dude.
okay.
you
It's
sound
okay,
rattled.
buddy.
I mean, you
It's
can
okay,
have
buddy.
a conversation.
Wait. I can have a childish laugh. I'm younger than
You
you, right?
seem
So, like, but you doing it
rattled.
as a grown ass man doesn't really look good in your favor rhetorically. But anyways,
Rhetorically. Read the
yeah, no, and then
verse.
you can do that. You can call me a Jewish wordsmith all you want, right? Whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
But again,
I didn't call you Jewish.
no. But it'll get there. It'll get there eventually. If I start using like philosophical jargon, you're just gonna tell me I'm a Jewish wordsmith. I've watched you debate other Christians. I see you do it all the time. Now, anyways,
Dude, you're seething,
the
bro.
point,
You're seething.
nobody's seething over here but you. The
Address my
point is
points. Hey, enough of your
I'm
rhetoric.
actively
Address
addressing
my
it. I'm
points.
actively addressing it.
Do it.
See,
No, you're
you
not.
gotta,
You're bullshitting.
you have to
I
stop
think he's
talking
trying to
in order to be
locate
able
the
to
verse
address it.
now.
I am.
Just give him a moment.
You said Romans 15:11.
Yeah,
Romans
and read it
15,
out.
12.
Okay, read it out
15:12.
loud for
Okay.
everybody too.
Yeah. Romans 15:12 states, and again Isaiah says, "There shall be a root of Jesse, and he who shall rise to reign over the Gentiles. I'm him; the Gentiles shall hope. Now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, that you may abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." Okay.
Okay, so did you hear it? That Jesus is going to reign over the Gentiles?
Wait. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
point of
The
the Messiah.
purpose.
That's the point of Jesus, to
Wait. Yeah. So
rule over the
hold on.
world, right?
This is crazy. The purpose when we're talking about anything that's esoteric, anything that's existential outside of that of man, is obviously going to be the case that it's going to be overlooming that of man. Even in paganistic, polytheistic views that they had, they still believed that these existential beings were that in which that ruled over man and the earth. So again, I don't see the issue here. Now what we can do, if the critique or the contention is Christianity is meant to subvert the white man and to be able to rob us of our warrior spirit, right? Which is kind of the statement here, right? Well, the simple question is just, where does your morality derive from, and how can you appease that through paganism, and where does that root from? Yeah, you
Quick,
guys can chuckle and laugh. By the way,
right to the transcendental, right to my morals,
100%.
avoiding where we're going.
Wait, I'm sorry.
You're
Are you not
touching,
proud? Do
you're
you not
hoping
think
so
that
bad.
do you not think the biggest reason as
Oh,
Europeans for us to be proud of being European is because of the fact that we're virtuous and not brown coated? We don't
yeah,
fucking
and
beat people and
hold on.
slaughter people and
Okay.
rape just unnecessarily. And
Yeah,
obsessively.
Christians never slaughtered anybody.
That's not what I
So
said.
hold
That's
on.
not what I said.
Your
Nice
position.
way to twist my words. Now answer my question.
You answer my question.
Yeah, exactly.
So your position is that white people wouldn't have any morals without the Jews and the chosen people and the Hebrew scriptures?
No, that's not the claim. A nice way to twist
Yeah,
my
it
words.
is. Well, that's my answer. That's my
My
answer.
simple
That's my
question-
answer.
My simple question is, what is your basis of morality, and how do you approve an objective morality without appeasing to some kind of an existential being and or God figure or God type?
Okay, I can answer.
Let's get some more people in here.
Notice this is what they do every single time I try to talk about the history of Jesus. They try to shift the burden onto me, trying to explain morals.
Here, I'll offer you
So-
one. Let me just answer the morality question, because, I mean, obviously it's interested you, but
No, I just got to point out, though, this is the deflection that they do every single time. They go, oh, well, where do we get our explain morals then? Oh, you don't believe in Jesus? Well, explain morals. I don't have to do that to show that
Wait,
Jesus
Marcel,
is
can
great.
you entertain
To
that
show-
though? Because
to
I
show that
am
we-
kind of
I'll
curious to hear a
but let me
response.
finish.
You're deflecting away from the verse that I just proved, that the Messiah in Judaism is meant to conquer the nations. And yes, to get us to abandon our previous moral frameworks.
But
And
that didn't
our
happen
legends.
though when we adopted Christianity.
Exactly.
We didn't really abandon it though,
Exactly.
did we? I mean, that was the whole point. That was the whole point of
They
that was the whole point of
appropriated some of it.
scholasticism, was synthesizing previous, like,
Yeah, we did. We did abandon it. Absolutely, we lost.
we did. We really didn't
Yeah.
though.
100%.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
100%.
On this matter of
Wait, yeah, Marcel, answer the question
What were the-
on regarding
What were the
Okay, on this
delegating
matter of
maxims?
defining good by essential standard, you can have a morality which centers, for example, around an ultimate evil and just try to get away from that. So if you think about like most people who are raised as liberals, right, there's a central villain whom you must not be like. So you might say in the current day it's like Hitler. But I could just say, for example, I define the ultimate evil, the thing all humans must oppose, as reverting to an animal-like existence. So there is either the Hobbesian war of all against all, or it's just all of us naked with no technology, squabbling in the dirt. And I could just say, I'm trying to locate universal rules of behavior so that I'm not in that situation. and other cultures have had different ways of getting out of that situation, and some people just commit crimes. Why is this not a basis of morality? Just a central evil of like a naked human existence in the dirt, and everybody trying to not be in that situation. What is wrong with that?
Yeah, because then you have multiple areas of like blurred lines where things can become justified just because it doesn't lead to that conclusion.
Yes. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
still
there's
morality.
no
It's
blurred
still
lines.
morality.
Wait.
There's no blurred
But
lines in the
let him
Bible.
respond.
What's
Let him
moral in the
entertain
Bible?
it. Let's.
What do you mean?
I mean,
What's wrong
let's
with
suss
that?
this out.
That would just be like saying like give any morally abhorrent action that you would say and just say that the logical conclusion is it prevents you from going back to the state of being naked within society and on.
Well, then in that case, it wouldn't be morally abhorrent. If it is something that doesn't, sorry, if it is a productive social relation, what would be
How
if
are
it's
you measuring productive social relation just by not being naked and left back onto the earth as oneself?
Basically, yeah. I mean, we're using our reason and intuition to think about if this rule were universally applied, would this take us more in the direction of constant conflict, of scarcity, or does this take us into social harmony and increase production?
Yeah, but then you run into the problem of like why like the whole point of like okay, you'd run into the problem of just like why the alt two get to like social harmony. Like you need
Right.
you would need a reason.
Why ought I to be like
Where
God?
does the ought derive from?
Listen,
Like you are kind of right. Like I don't like tag as an argument, but like just
morality is a recipe for us to live together. If you don't want to live together, then you're not interested in making the recipe.
morality.
That-
The whole
that
point of morality is to
presupposes-
say what you ought and ought not to do.
Yeah, and that also
Okay.
presupposes, especially when we're talking about normativity, that also presupposes again
Okay.
that this ought is derived
Then in this
from
case,
somewhere.
this
where does
thing
the
you mean
ought
by
derive
morality is not something I'm interested in.
But this is what they do
Or
every
anyone
time.
You're
Marcel,
not
every
interested
time I try to
in
talk
Let me just
about
answer.
it,
Let me just
every
answer.
time I try to talk about if Jesus existed or like what's the point of the Messiah in Judaism, every
Yeah, no,
single
you said
time
that
they
ad
shift, they
nauseum.
I'm
Okay.
deflect,
trying to.
All right.
and they
I'm
go
trying
to
to put
talk about
together.
morality every single time.
I'm trying to put
Well,
together.
to be fair, it doesn't have to be about morality. It can be
Listen,
about
I'm trying to make.
any type of epistemic claim.
Let me
And
just answer this.
Right.
I'm trying to make a dish called civilization. All right. I'm trying to find the ingredients of that dish. I talk to people and we work out the ingredients of that dish. Some people say it's like a central lawful authority like a king. Some people say it's a democracy. Some people think that you need to pay taxes. Some people think it's communism. But all of us, when we discuss these things, is it right for one person to own all the land? We are talking about building this dish called civilization. If you are not interested in making that dish, if you're talking about how we can emulate some other being, and like as a second order effect, you make the dish called civilization, then what you are interested in is like something I'm not interested in.
Wait. So originally before this you said I'm not interested in morality. So you're not interested in understanding where the ought derives from as to why you do certain things.
Civilization is something I want to do.
Wait, why? Where does that derive from? Where?
Because I don't want to starve to death.
Wait, why? Again, where does the
I just
ought
don't.
derive from?
I just don't want to starve to death.
You just don't.
I've led to,
So
yeah,
there's-
I just
so
don't.
there's
It's a personal preference.
so
Why
there's
do
I
you
like
believe the
taste.
Bible is the source of morality?
Let me answer this.
But Marcel, I can't have a dialogue with you when Adam the cheerleader wants to unmute and repeat himself for the 7th time.
No, don't do that.
I can't do that.
I didn't repeat myself. I asked a different question. How do you know that your Bible morality is the real source of morality?
Wait, because I'm able to use a foundation. I'm able to know that it's a foundation that's rooted in truth, right?
That's circular. It's true because it's true.
No, wait, hold on.
It's true because you think it's true.
Epistemic circularity is going to be a thing because you're eventually going to get to bare bone axioms.
Your Bible and your morals is completely dependent on how it's interpreted and what the church fathers say. They're interpreting it. It's what they say, and you agree and think that's right. So you're doing the same thing that anybody else is doing when trying to figure out morals.
Again, and what about like not eating fish on Friday and things like that? I mean,
yeah, what?
Great morality there.
Well, I mean, like as a Catholic, like you're not supposed to consume fish on Friday.
Okay, I'm not a Catholic, so I don't
Marcel, I have a question for you.
It's a Catholic question.
Sure.
So,
are you Orthodox or are you Protestant?
Like with your account of sort of like what you're interested in with civilization, what do you do with like what I would consider to be, I guess, the aim like the higher parts of civilization, like music, poetry, the arts, literature, stuff that we don't need for survival, kind of can even get in the way of survival. Take valuable resources from that. But
That's
like,
consumption. That's leisure. It's something that I'm doing with civilization now that I have it.
okay, all right, fair enough.
So, can we get back to before we got sidetracked on the moral deflection?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so we already established Romans 15:12 is citing Isaiah 11, where Paul says that the Messiah is going to reign or rule over the Gentiles. So, you guys agree Jesus is Melchizedek, right? He's the high priest of Melchizedek's order, like it says several times in Hebrews, right? Everybody agree in agreement there, Ortho bro? So that is a reference to Psalms 110, which begins, it's a short chapter. It begins by saying, the Lord says to my Lord, so like the Lord says to his servant, his son, the Messiah, the Son of Man, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. So the enemies of the Messiah was the Gentiles and the Romans at the time Christianity was conceived. And then it says in verse 2, the Lord will extend your mighty scepter from Zion, saying, rule in the midst of your enemies. So now Jesus was a myth invented by Jews to rule in the midst of their enemies, which was the Romans and the Gentiles. That's where Jesus comes from. He's meant to rule over us, the Jewish Messiah for the God of Israel and the chosen people, to rule, theologically rule over the Gentiles. And that's what the Catholic Church helped facilitate. And that's why there's clips, hours of clips of rabbis all over the internet bragging about how Jesus
Well, to be fair,
Judaized the
there's
world.
hours of clips of rabbis saying the exact opposite, though,
No, it's not
right?
actually. Where are
Oh,
they
there
then?
is like
Where
the
are your
or you
rabbi
don't even have
clips,
to go to
bro? What are you
rabbis.
talking about?
You can go to the most like destructive Jews in the 20th and 19th century. I mean, their whole thing was attacking Christianity, right? I mean, for
Well, they'll criticize it, they'll attack it, but they still say that it Judaized
no,
the
they wanted to
Gentiles and it
no, that's
conquered
not
pagan
true at all.
idols.
Like for example, Freud's whole work was
Freud's
destroying
not
the
a
type of
rabbi. Freud's not a rabbi.
I
And
said
by
you
the
don't
way,
even have
okay, what does
you must have
Maimonides
you
say?
must have missed where I said it doesn't even have to be rabbis. It can be the most destructive Jews of the 20th century and or the 19th century. It doesn't matter. The Jews that are responsible for the destruction of Western morality and civilization, like their basis was attacking Christianity. Like it could be the Frankfurt School and the critical theorists or the psychoanalysis. It could be either or. And like their
Sure,
whole
sure. Some
project was
Jews,
destroying Christianity.
yeah, Jews attack the white man's religion. They will do that for sure.
So
But
Christianity is the white
listen,
man's religion?
it's not the religion of the Jews anymore.
But it's not a Jewish
No, I'm
religion.
saying they're criticizing white people, and they'll criticize white people for anything that we're doing. But here,
And one of
let
those
me,
things was the
dude.
Catholic Church persecuting Jews for 1,200 years.
Okay, even before Christian Zionism, the top rabbi in all of Judaism says that Christianity, although it has its flaws and it persecuted them, it still helped Judaize the world
Yeah,
and
I
is
understand
preparing the
some
world for
rabbis
the
think that,
Messiah.
but the consensus
No,
amongst
no, hold
Jews
on.
is
It's not just some
Christianity is the
rabbis.
You're
biggest
fucking
threat.
wrong. You're
Hold on,
wrong.
listen.
You're absolutely
Just
wrong.
wait, Adam.
Oh,
Hold on.
okay.
He's quoting
Hold
Maimonides,
on,
which is
hold on,
Muhammad's.
Amalek, don't interrupt me. Let me just finish one point. There's an official Orthodox rabbi statement about Christianity, and they say exactly what I'm saying. And I've got hours of clips of rabbis explaining, all of them the same thing, about how Christianity, it's a false religion. It's persecuted them, but still it conquered the pagan world, and it's part of God's plan, and it made all the Gentiles worship a Jewish Messiah and the God of Israel. That's what they say.
So are you just like repeating Jewish talking points on here? And your name is Adam too. It's
Oh
pretty
my
common.
God! You mean like the Jews that created the Bible you believe in? You mean like Rabbi
I mean,
Paul and Rabbi Peter?
I mean, I guess I'll kind of just I don't want to start accusing people of being Jewish. I don't want that to happen. But to
Is that a
reiterate
threat?
against, I mean,
Go ahead, call me Jewish. That's a great argument. Go ahead, say I'm
no,
Jewish.
I'm not going to call you. No, I stopped him from calling you Jewish. I don't want that to
Okay,
happen.
thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah. No, yeah, he's saying you believe rabbis. We're arguing about how rabbis view Christianity. Who the fuck else am I supposed to cite, you dumb shit?
I just
Oh,
don't
you're
think I
citing
don't think
rabbis.
that's
It's
I
like
don't
the
think that's a
dumbest
very
joke
good
you
I
guys
don't think
have.
that's a very good
You
argument.
believe the rabbis.
Well, I just don't think that's
You
a good
believe the
argument.
rabbis.
A bunch of rabbis agree with me, so
We're
that's why.
talking about Jay Dyer agrees with me. Nazis agree with me on this topic. The Jewish Messiah was meant to conquer the world. It did it, and the rabbis are celebrating it. And now Christianity is more kosher than ever. Those are the facts.
I mean, it's just interesting that as people become less and less Christian, the more and more like kosher that, and the more Christian, like organized Christianity serves Jewish interests, right? I mean, would you say
The
what?
more most Zionists on earth are Christians. Israel's
Yeah, but that
greatest
wasn't the
allies
case
around the
when
world
people were.
are
That wasn't the case when people
Everybody,
were
I
actually
just want to say
hold
we
dogmatically
on.
have a minor
Christian.
celebrity in our midst.
You're
One
saying
of my favorite
hold on.
guys. Everybody, shut up for a second. One of my favorite fucking comic artists is in this space right now. If you guys are not following Tatsuya Ishida, who's at Sinfest on Twitter, you need to follow his fucking